What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Incredibles 2. I'm going to be reviewing the movie itself, of course. And I did not see this movie when it came out, which I very much regret now, looking back on it, because I wish I had seen this in theaters. This is a really great movie. I think I enjoyed it more than the first one. Personally, just me. I've personally liked it more. And I've said in a few videos, I grew up with Toy Story and Finding Nemo and all these movies, but Incredibles was never really a movie that I grew up with or had a personal connection with. But before I watched it, I think earlier on this past weekend on Saturday, I tried to watch The Incredibles 2 at my friend's house. I didn't get all the way through it, but I got halfway through and I was like, this is actually really good. And I like Incredibles 2 even more, I think, in my opinion. I think it's an even better movie. I think it's a lot more fun. It's very enjoyable. And I watched it with my mom, and she does not really remember that much at all about the first film, but she really enjoyed it. And I think that's a good thing about it, is that it's very enjoyable. And so it's probably one of the best Pixar movies in terms of the characters. I think the characters have definitely gotten a lot of growth. I heard that Frozone, Samuel L. Jackson, of course, had a lot more to do in this movie. He doesn't actually have that much more to do. He has pretty much the same role that he did in the first one, which is kind of disappointing for me. But, he was there, and then there's where you going, ASAP? You better be back, ASAP. And I'm kind of sad they gave that away in the trailer, because, it's a very short scene in the movie, but they shouldn't have given that away in the trailer. That's the thing, a lot of the best scenes were given away in the trailer, except for one, which we'll talk about, which is hilarious. But yeah, it's definitely a really enjoyable movie. Jack's adorable. He turns into a demon baby, and he sets himself on fire, and it's crazy. And the Screenslaver is, I think, the villain of the movie, Screenslaver. You can see him right there. And this will be spoilers, of course, because this movie came out. Did it come out in May or June? I think it was June, right? June 15th. Oh yeah, look, it says it right there on the poster that I'm looking at right now. But yeah, so it came out a while ago, so there's gonna be spoilers, of course. I know the Screensaver was the controversy about this movie. I personally didn't hate her as much as other people do. I didn't think Evelyn was the worst villain. I think she was just kind of mediocre. I don't think she was terrible. I don't think Syndrome was better. I think that's the thing that both these movies have in common, is the villains have been very weak. I did not like Syndrome. Everyone's like, Syndrome's one of the best comic book villains ever. I'm like, Syndrome's really annoying and stupid. It's like there's a lot of people who get their feelings hurt by, a role model, and they don't turn evil. It's like me going up to, a celebrity or something. Let's say I'm a Spider-Man fan, so let's say Tom Holland. Imagine I go up to Tom Holland, I'm like, hey, and then he's says something slightly mean, and then I'm like, I'm gonna be a supervillain, and I'm gonna turn evil. That's basically who Syndrome is, and I never really liked Syndrome. I think Evelyn was better. She's not the best villain. She got the job done. She was there. She did what she had to do. And she's better than quite a few of our recent villains, like Steppenwolf from Justice League, who had no character at all. She has a character, and she has a motivation. It's just not explained very well. They have one scene where she's like, my parents called the supers. What was it? She was mad because her parents were lied too much on superheroes, and that's what got her dad killed. It's just a very brief scene where she's like, this is why I'm evil. Okay, bye. And then they just and they were kind of too easy to beat, all the villains. They had their goggles on, and everyone was just like, okay, boop, 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 and just took all their goggles off, and that's it. That was it. It was like, yay, we saved the day. I enjoyed a lot of the characters. I think Elastigirl got a lot of great development in this movie. She's probably one of the best characters in the film. She was kind of more of the streamlined main character instead of Bob in this one, and I think that was the right choice, because she was definitely one of my favorite characters in this movie. Dash is just kind of annoying. He's the annoying little brother, so he does his job as a character. Bob is pretty funny with Jack, and Jack's hilarious as when he has his battle with the raccoon. He has the little raccoon thing. Violet is probably my favorite one. She's a very relatable character, and Violet is definitely probably my favorite. And she has the most creative usage of her powers, which we'll get into in a minute, which was another thing that I really loved about this movie, is the way that they use their powers in this movie. But and then Violet had one of the most hilarious scenes when Bob takes her to the restaurant, the Happy Platter, whatever it's called, and then Tony is like the bartender, and then she just like shoots the water out of her nose. This is just like hilarious. It's just so like fast and unexpected. It's hilarious. It's a hilarious moment in the movie. But yeah, another thing. Yeah, the way that they use the heroes' powers. You can see them in the background there, but they introduce all these little new superheroes, like Void, and then there's the old guy who's like, is it a superpower or is it just an old age or whatever? And he's like, that's just a joke that I use. Something really weird. He was weird. But Edna is also in this one. Edna's back, and she's like babysitting Jack Jack, and she's like, no. And then like Jack Jack just bursts into all his powers, and then she's like, yes. She's like, okay, you can go now, bye. Edna was pretty hilarious. She didn't really do much. Like, she had a few scenes, but that's kind of what she was in the original. I think that's how you use Edna, is you just kind of use her a little bit. So I think Edna was used well, and they have the Incredibile or whatever. It's not even the Incredible Mobile, it's just Incredibile. It's so weird. But yeah, the way they use their powers in this movie I really like. Like, they have some really... The action is really good in this movie. For an animated... And that's something that a lot of the Pixar movies do well, is like they have their heart. They have a lot of heart in them. But this one has a lot of action, surprisingly. Probably more than the first, and it's really well done, actually. With the first few scenes of Elastigirl, when she's like breaking into the helicopters or whatever and stopping the train, Spider-Man style. Like, there's one shot where she's like swinging down the street and she looks like Spider-Man. Like, seriously, like she looks like she's swinging around like Spider-Man. I was like, hey, that's Spider-Man. It's so they're kind of trying to copy off of other superhero movies, but not in a bad way. They're trying to do it in kind of a funny, comedic way. They're trying to copy off them in a funny way while also being self-serious. And that's what I really like about the Incredibles movies. Like, they're superhero movies, but they're also self-conscious. They're also very, it's about a family. Like, there's a lot of conversations in the movies about being a family. So they are a family, but they are superheroes. So it's very cool. It's a very cool idea. But I know that I've been trying to say for like the last few minutes about how they use their power. So I'm gonna actually get into that now because I keep interrupting myself. But yeah, Elastigirl using her powers to swing around like Spider-Man and stop trains and break into helicopters and stuff like that. That was all great, with some great action scenes in the beginning. Jack using his powers, multiplying himself, all of that stuff, fighting the raccoon. He like trapped the raccoon in the fence. It's hilarious. And yeah, there's a lot of great action. Like, in the end, one of the best scenes, I think, and why I think Violet uses her powers very interestingly, is like at the end when she's fighting Void on the boat. And then it's really cool the way they do it. Like, she's using her force fields, but then also having Void like use her her portals to like drop her in different areas to try and get the goggles on her. It's a very interesting scene. I think they even talk about that at the end. Like, Void's like, oh, that was so cool you did. And she's like, yeah, sorry, I had to punch you in the face. Oh yeah, and then since I was saying this is kind of like a modern superhero movie, it's kind of like that, but it's very self-conscious, and that's what I think. It's one of the better superhero movies, I think, because in today's world, there's so many superhero movies coming out, one after the other. We get 3 Marvel movies a year. And I'm not saying anything against, like, the MCU or anything, because they're all really good movies. But it's very self-conscious. So it basically it has a credit scene, basically. It has basically a little credit scene, but it's not actually a credit scene. It's a little teaser, which I looked it up on YouTube, and there's a very select few amount of videos that actually show the credit scene and people actually talking about it, because I don't think anyone notices that it was actually, like, after the movie ended, I was like, oh, Mom, did you see the little, like, teaser at the end? She's like, what? And, yeah, it's a very interesting little thing. So, basically, at the beginning of the movie, Underminer's in it for, like, 1 minute, not even. Just shows up, he's like, hi, Mr. Incredible, meet Jack Hammer, and then punches him in the face, and then jumps in a little thing and zooms away in a little drill, and just kind of leaves them behind. I thought his goal was to rob the bank, but then he just leaves. I don't know. That's the what's his name? John Ratzenberger. I think that's his name. He always makes a voice cameo. He did Ham in the original Toy Story, and ever since he's been making all these voice cameos in the movies. I think they had I forget his name, but the guy who voiced Rex. He was Mr. Incredible's employer in the first Incredibles, if I'm not mistaken. So that had 2 voice cameos, and it's very hard to tell that it's Ratzenberger because he does a really good job voicing the character. But he just shows up for 1 second, he jumps in his little drill and drills away. And then in the very end of the credits, it just shows like a little, like, it looks like a bunch of dirt, and then just a little drill pops up and just drives away. It's very short, it's just drilling away. It's like the movie ends and there's like a little end credits teaser. It's very clever. It's not like a live action animated, like, way. They didn't do it in like a live action animated way. It was more of like that kind of cartoonish style animation that they used for like the credits. Well, obviously this is a cartoonish style animated movie, but you know what I mean. Like comic book, I guess you say. Yeah, comic booky style animation. And a little drill pops up and drills away, and I guess they're kind of teasing Incredibles 3, which will have Underminer, I assume, as the main villain, which that would be cool. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting little teaser at the end of the credits, which I know a lot of people probably did not stay for and didn't notice, because I've seen a lot of reviews and they're like, there's no credits scene. I'm like, well, there is. But it's like disguised, because like my mom was like, what? Like I was like, Mom, did you notice that? And she's like, what? Like my mom didn't. Like I watched this with my mom, like I said, like I've been saying, and she did not notice that until I explained it to her what was happening there. But yeah, it's a very clever way. Once again, this being a self-conscious type superhero movie, it's a very cool way that they did that. Or they did that in a very cool way. So yeah, I really enjoyed Incredibles 2. I have one problem. It's a very small problem. And like I say, the villain doesn't really bother me. She's kind of lame, but it's fine. My one problem is it's a really annoying moment in the movie because it's basically the prime example of super convenience in a movie. And it's when, when Evelyn is getting away in her helicopter, her plane, or whatever she's doing, and then Void has to get Mrs. Incredible or Elastigirl up into the jet, and then she is, like, losing air, and she's, like, going all crazy, and then she just finds a flare gun sitting on the ground. What? There's just a flare gun sitting on the ground of this jet? It's like, well, that's convenient. Elastigirl just grabs a flare gun, blasts the roof, or whatever. It's like, well, that's it. She's done. It's like, well, that's great, you know? It's just really dumb to me. It's like, they didn't set up Evelyn using guns. Like, she doesn't use guns. She uses screens. So, that she just has a gun sitting on the floor, a flare gun, is just super convenient to me. And it's just basically the prime example of convenience in movies, and I absolutely hated it. So, that's the one part of the movie that I really hated, and I thought it was really dumb. Other than that, the rest of the movie's great. I'm going to give Incredibles 2 an A. So, you guys let me know what you thought of Incredibles 2, and what you thought of my review in the comments. And I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.